Hello Cloud Pedagogians, welcome to this hands-on lab where we'll learn about how to set up and use an application load balancer for web servers. Elastic load balancing automatically distributes your incoming traffic across multiple targets such as EC2 instances, containers and IP addresses in one or more availability zones. It monitors the health of its registered targets and routes the traffic only to the healthy targets. Elastic load balancing scales your load balancer as your incoming traffic changes over time. It can automatically scale to the vast majority of the workloads either. Elastic load balancing supports application load balancers, network load balancers, gateway load balancers, and classic load balancers. You can select the type of load balancer that best suits your need. In this lab, we are going to work on the application load balancer. Let's look at the scenario. Our scenario is that your company has a simple web application that needs to be scaled up to run on multiple web servers. The application is very old and highly stateful, and it doesn't support logins across multiple servers. To scale the application but to still ensure users continue to use the same server each time they visit the website, we will set up a clone for our website and then we will create an application load balancer with sticky sessions to manage the connections. This will prevent a user from accessing a different web server even if they visit more than once, thus keeping this highly stateful website working correctly. So, before going through the lab, let's see the prerequisites. You should have little understanding of how to launch an instance. In this lab, we have already installed a web server in the EC2 instance. And also we have created the security groups that allows HTTP and HTTPS rules. Thus, you need to have little basic understanding about security groups as well. So, when you are ready, go ahead and look at our task. In task 1, we are going to view the current web server in the environment. In the task 2, we are going to launch new web servers. In task 3, we are going to set up an application load balancer. In task 4, we are going to verify the application load balancer traffic. Finally, in the task 5, we are going to apply the sticky sessions to the application load balancer and test the same. So, start with the task 1. Check our current environment in AWS Management Console page. The first thing we need to do is head over to EC2. And if you see EC2 in your recently visited, you can click on it there. Otherwise, you can use the search bar to navigate to EC2. I'm going to go ahead and click on EC2 here. And here we are in the EC2 console. So let's go ahead and click on instances. In the instances page, you can see the instances is running and we see CP Web Server 1 that was actually taking load from users. And let's go ahead and select this web server. And down here we see the public IPv4 address. So I'll copy that to my clipboard. We will open up a new tab and paste it in here and navigate to the IP address. And as you can see, we have a Cloud Pedagogy load balancer demo page is showing up. And this is how we are going to identify which instance we end up on once we have the load balancer set up. Let's look at the security groups provision for this web server. Go to the security groups under Network and Settings. Here you can see CP Web Server SG provision for our CP Web Server 1 instance. Let's check the in and outbound rules for this security group. In the inbound rules, this rule allows SSH, HTTP and HTTPS as inbound rules, and go ahead and look for outbound rules. The outbound rules have only one rule which allows all traffic. Good job. Our application is running fine in the current environment with the security group. In the task 2, we are going to launch a new web server. So we'll head back over to EC2 tab and on this page we'll click Launch Instance. We will give our instance a name and we'll just call this CP Web Server 2. Moving on to the application and OS image, we want to select Linux AMI 2023 image and we can leave it as the default here. Moving on, we'll stick on the instance type T2 Micro. Next step is our key pair and we don't need a key pair here. So we will click in the drop down and we'll select proceed without a key pair. And for our security group, we are going to select an existing security group which was used in Web Server 1. Let's click on the drop down and you will see there are two security groups. And we are looking for the one that shows Web Server SG. So we'll select that. And then we'll scroll down here to the advanced details. Let me expand that and we can scroll all the way down to the bottom here. And in the user data section, we are going to paste in our application code. To get user script, either you can check from the description or follow these steps. You can get the user script from the existing EC2 instance. To get user script, select CP Web Server 1, go to Actions, in the instance settings, select Edit User Script. Copy the script and paste the same in Web Server 2. So I'm going to copy that to my clipboard and will paste it in here. With all those settings in place, let's click Launch Instance. And now we can click on the instance ID to monitor the status of this instance. Now we see that our instance is running, so we can select that instance. And down here we see the public IPv4 address, so I'll copy that to my clipboard. We will open up a new tab and navigate to that IP address. And we have our load balancer demo showing up. And you will notice that the IP addresses are different. On this tab, we see that our local IP ends in 35.200 and the other tab we see it ends in 46114. So these are our two different instances. Good job, you have successfully launched a clone of the existing web server instance. In the task 3, we are going to set up an application load balancer. So now that we have those instances set up, let's set up our application load balancer. So we'll head back over to our instances tab and in the left navigation we'll scroll all the way down here. And here you can see load balancing. We'll select load balancers. And on the page that loads, we will click create load balancer. We see we have few options here and we are going to be selecting the application load balancer. So we'll click create under application load balancer. And we need to give our load balancer a name and we'll just call this CP Web ALB. We can accept the rest of the defaults and basic configurations and move on down. Here in our networking mapping, where we are going to select our VPC. I'm using the default VPC here. If you have your own custom VPC, let's click the drop down and select your VPC. And under mappings, we'll select all of the availability zones here. And moving on to our security group, we are going to get rid of this default security group and we'll click in the drop down and we'll select the security group that was used by Web Server 1. Moving on to our listeners and routing, we need to select a target group and we don't have one of those yet. So we'll click the create target group button. This is going to open up a new tab and here we are in the target group configuration. Our target type is going to be instances and that's already selected. So we are good there. And we'll give our target group a name. I'll call this CP Web Server TG. And everything else can be left as default. And we can scroll down to the bottom and click next. On this page, we need to register our targets. So we can select both of our instances and we'll click include as pending below. And then we can scroll down to the bottom and click create target group. And now we have our target group created. Let's head back over to our load balancing configuration and click the refresh button here. And now we can click in the drop down and we can see the target group. So let's select that and everything else is good here. So we can scroll down to the bottom and see our summary. So we'll scroll down and click create load balancer. And now on this page, we'll click view load balancer and we see our load balancer is provisioning. And we can see that we are creating an internet-facing application load balancer using IPv4 with our security group, our VPC and our availability zones with our subnets, listening on port 80 with our target group. So everything is good there. And this can take a few minutes. Good job. You have created an application load balancer for your two web servers, which are Web Server 1 and Web Server 2. In the next task, we are going to verify the application load balancer traffic. Now our application is showing as active status. Once the load balancer is showing as active, we can verify the traffic. If we come down here to the bottom, we can select our DNS name and copy this to our clipboard. Let me open that up in a new tab and paste it here. And now we see our application is loading. If we refresh this page a few times, you will notice that the page changes. So you see how I am refreshing. We keep bouncing between the two different instances that we have. For example, look at the IPv4 address. The IP address is changing every time you refresh the page. Good job. Your application load balancer is successfully distributing the traffic between your two web servers, CP Web Server 1 and CP Web Server 2. In the next task, we are going to apply the sticky session to the application load balancer and test it. Right now, we can see that the traffic is load balancing in different web servers like CP Web Server 1 and 2. But that's not what we are looking for. We want to set up sticky sessions so that once we have connected to a server, any subsequent connections will always go to the same server. To enable the sticky sessions, let's go ahead to the target group page. We'll click on our CP Web Server TG tab again, and on this page we'll click on attributes. And you'll notice here that we have stickiness set is off. So let's change that. And we'll click edit. We'll just check the box next to the stickiness. And the stickiness type will be load balancer generated cookie. So we are good there. And the duration can be just 1 day. And now if we go back to the tab with our load balancer DNS name, and we can refresh this page. And no matter how many times we refresh the page, it's always going to send us to this same server, at least for the next day, because as we have specified with the sticky session as a day. And just to test that for one more time, we'll go back over to CP Web Server ALB here, and I'll just grab that DNS one more time, open up a new tab and paste it in here. You'll notice here the public IP and local IP are the same as our other tab. Good work. We have successfully enabled sticky sessions on our load balancer and tested it. Congratulations. Now you know how to set up and use an application load balancer for your different web servers. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach me out in the comments. Hope to see you in another lab. But until then, keep learning and have fun.